Hey, LarkenRose here. So, you don't like to feel alone, which is understandable. You like to feel like you have other people on your side, on your team, in your group, which again is understandable. So you have your beliefs and your opinions and your view of the world. And if you see a group of people who kind of share that, even if you're not in agreement on every single thing, you tend to gravitate towards them. You tend to talk to them and listen to them and sort of join in their club. And if you have a political party that sounds more in line with what you believe, you start to associate with that. You start to relate to those people and that organization, especially if there's another party that you feel very unlike, has very different views and priorities from you. And if it feels like the choice is, well, that one or this one, well, obviously you're going to choose that one because that is more in alignment with what you believe and how you see the world. And then you feel a little bit of security having lots of other people in that group, because there are millions and millions of people who support that political party. And so you become more and more attached to it, and you view that as your friends and the other party as your enemies, even though you know there are some people in your party who are slimy and corrupt and not really that good people, but that's to be expected. You sort of downplay that and make excuses for it. Because given the choice between the two, obviously this one is the one that matches you. This one is the one you think is the good guys if you had to choose between the two. And then time goes by and a weird thing happens. Inch by inch, that party, that political candidate, starts to kind of move in a direction that doesn't match what you believed, or at least what you believed before. It starts to go into territories where you're not that comfortable with it, but you're so focused on being against the other party that you'll sort of look the other way. You'll sort of make excuses for it. Maybe you'll even cheer for it. Maybe you'll even start to support things that you don't really believe in, or at least you didn't really believe in. Maybe you'll even start to change your mind and start to believe in these new things because your group, your team, your side, your party is telling you that if you're going to be in this group, if you're one of us that makes you feel like you belong and makes you feel powerful, well, then you have to be in favor of this thing and opposed to that thing. And one by one, you start to sort of compromise your principles, and you start to advocate things that, you really wouldn't have. You definitely would have been against if the other party had done them. But in this case, your loyalty to your group is strong enough that you'll kind of make some exceptions, you'll make some excuses, or maybe you'll all the way get excited about something that you would have been opposed to last year, because your party is saying it. And when they come out and say, part of our identity, part of what we are, part of what it means to be a member of this party is that you are all in support of X, some political agenda, some legislative authoritarian plan, you have to make a decision. Suddenly be alone by criticizing your own party, by saying, no, that's wrong. Suddenly turn all these allies into your enemies by saying, no, not that, speaking out against them, disagreeing with them, and then they'll immediately assume you're on the other side. Or you can sort of compromise a little bit. You can sort of give up your principles and say, okay, I'll just sort of hold my nose and go along with that. Or maybe, even better, you'll convince yourself that, that authoritarian agenda in this case is necessary and good. You never would have thought that a year ago, but now you see your side going rah, rah, rah. You see the talking heads that represent your side on TV and in the media and the podcasts, all going, yes, we need this authoritarian, we need this state power, this new law, this new centralized authority to deal with whatever problem, whatever crisis of the week. And you hear everybody on your side saying that, and you know that your choices are either abandon ship and go back to being alone with no friends and allies, because you're still not on the other side. You're not going to them, that other party, that other side, that other team, because there's a ton of stuff they say that you don't agree with. And you don't want to be alone with no team, all by yourself. That's uncomfortable. And then both teams will be against you. So you learn to like something, you learn to cheer for something that last year you would have been against. And if the victims of the authoritarianism that you're now cheering for resist or complain or condemn that agenda, and they don't want that force on them, whatever it might be, you start to blame the victims, don't you? You start to say, if you don't want to go along with this authoritarian agenda, well, then you're a bad person and you deserve whatever my side does to you, whatever my team, whatever my party does to you, you deserve it because you're on the other side. And this is my side. My team is where I belong. They're the ones who accept me. They're the ones who I can go, rah, 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 this is my team. So if my team and its spokespeople, whether politicians or talking heads or whoever, if they say we should all be going rah, rah, rah for this agenda, well, then you're going to go rah, rah, rah for that agenda, aren't you? Even if it's something that last year you would have criticized or condemned. And even if it's something that you absolutely would have condemned had the other party done it. But now your side and your group is doing it, and you don't really have the mental fortitude. You don't have the spine or the principles to stand up for what you, on your own, by yourself, would actually believe. You get dragged along like a sheep. And you go along with the crowd that you fit into, or you think you fit into, rather than speak out against them if they go in a direction that you think is wrong, or last year would have thought was wrong. In fact, you'll even change your mind just to fit in. And there are plenty of psychology experiments that show exactly that. People say things and do things that they know are wrong just to avoid the conflict of not fitting in or being seen as an outsider or being seen as a troublemaker. Of course, that depends on you kind of being a coward, being spineless and unprincipled and willing to betray your own values and your own principles in order to cheer for some authoritarian agenda just so you can still be part of that team, just so you can be on that side against those other people. And that's how it went for every tyranny in history. You're either with us or against us. Well, I definitely don't want to be against you, so I'm with you no matter what you do. Even if you change course, even if suddenly you're not doing what you said you believed in 5 seconds ago. Now you're doing something else? Okay. Now you might be thinking, if, for example, you're a Democrat, you might be thinking that I'm talking about COVID. We're a bunch of people who 2 seconds ago were all about bodily autonomy. My body, my choice. And then suddenly we're condemning anybody who wouldn't take an injection of something when they don't know what's in it and don't know whether it's necessary or effective. And a bunch of Democrats went from my body, my choice to screw your freedom, take the shot. or you're trying to kill grandma. All those people that jumped on board that. Ridiculous authoritarian control, shutting things down, shutting down businesses, destroying countless lives, pushing an injection on people that was completely unnecessary for a hell of a lot of people, actually for everybody, and horribly dangerous, and ended up killing a bunch of people. A bunch of Democrats who before that would have said, oh no, we're all for bodily autonomy and freedom of expression and freedom of association. Suddenly they're cheering for just ridiculous, draconian, completely arbitrary, centralized authoritarian power butting into everybody's lives. We're going to make you all wear masks. Did you bother to find out if masks do any good? Because they don't. And studies going back decades and decades and decades show they don't. So those mandates didn't accomplish anything. But the people on your side said they did. The spokespeople for your side were out there saying, if you care about grandma, you're going to wear the masks and you're going to condemn anybody who doesn't. And a whole lot of you did that. So maybe if you're one of those people on that side, maybe you thought that what I was just saying was about you. It was. And also, if you're somebody who supported Trump, and you heard what I said, you're one of those people who, hey, he was talking about lowering taxes. He increased taxes, like drastically, with his tariffs. And then he promised socialist handouts to try to fix the problems that his tariffs caused. And he talked, oh, we're not going to have any wars. And then bombing Iran and Yemen, committing war crimes against boats off of Venezuela, being a cheerleader for the murder being committed by the ruling class of Israel? Is that what you believed a couple of years ago? Is that what you were rah about? Heck with the Fourth Amendment, heck with due process, heck with limited powers. No, we need an unlimited arbitrary police state all of a sudden because immigration. Is that what you believed a couple of years ago? Did you change your mind so that you could fit into that group? So, is that what I was talking about before? Yeah, that too. Because Democrats and Republicans, you're both the same thing. The fact that it's two different fabricated, fake, arbitrary sides doesn't change the fact that none of you have principles, none of you have a spine. All of you did what I just described. All of you sold your souls and became cheerleaders for authoritarian evil just so you could fit in. Just so you could feel like my group, my side, my team, we're big and strong and we're going to tell the other team what to do. And we're going to tell you how bad you are. If you're one of the people who object to the ridiculous authoritarian COVID measures or the outright police state lunacy and warmongering that the right is doing. And both of you would have absolutely condemned all of that had the other party done it. Because none of you are in control of your own minds. You're followers, you're sheep, you're cowards. And you can whine all you want about that. But if your belief system was here and then you voted for a guy and then they did things way off of what you said you believed in, and instead of going, whoa, that's not what I wanted, you change what you believe in, it's because you're a coward, you're a sheep. You're spineless, you're unprincipled. You care more about feeling like you fit into a side and fit into a team than you do about whether or not you're cheering for evil. Sadly, that's been much of humanity for most of human history. And you can see the results. Read a history book. That's how Mao got away with what he did. That's how Stalin got away with it. That's how Hitler got away with it. Right down the list is a bunch of people fell for a sales pitch. We're against that bad thing. And often it was actually a bad thing they were against. And some control freak psycho came along and said, give me power and I'll fight against that bad thing. I'll fight against those libtards. I'll fight against those racist Republicans. Just give me lots of power. And then you did. And then when they got into power, they kind of stopped doing the things that you say you believed in and started pushing authoritarian BS. And this isn't new. To quote Plato, when a tyrant, from this root no other, a tyrant springs. When he first appears, he is a protector. That's what happens every time. And the people going rah, rah, rah for him, when he does that fade from pretending to be a protector to being a tyrant, they feel comfortable being in the group. Our gang is tough. I feel powerful because I'm in this group. And if this group wanders over to being authoritarian and evil, I won't have the spine to go, wait a minute, that's not what I believe in. Nope, I'm going to follow the crowd and cheer for evil because I'm a spineless coward who can't stand on his own, who doesn't actually believe in anything, who doesn't really have any convictions, who doesn't really have any actual moral code that he'll stick to, but will sell his soul at the drop of a hat to cheer for an authoritarian gang that I think is on my side. At this point, that is every Democrat and every Republican. If you haven't yet abandoned the party and the team and the side that before you fell for their sales pitch, it's because you don't give a shit about right and wrong. You don't give a shit about principles. You don't care about democracy. You don't care about the Constitution. I mean, I don't care about democracy and the Constitution, but that's because they're both excuses to have a ruling class, which I don't believe in. To me, the funniest part, or the saddest part, is that all those people who did that, so many of them come to me and say, I used to respect what you said, but now you sound like the other team. Really? Because I've been saying the same thing for 30 years. I didn't change. I didn't shift. I didn't move. I actually have principles. That's what principles look like. When a candidate says, give me power, and I don't believe in ruling classes, I say, no. I don't say, well, I'm more scared of them, so blah, blah, blah. But the people who fall for this, some of them know they're holding their nose and cheering for evil. The scariest part is most of the people don't notice because they have no identity. They have no principles. Their beliefs will actually shift to match the team because they're that cowardly, they're that spineless, to the point that they will now genuinely believe due process doesn't really matter. Constitution doesn't really matter. You can have violence against immigration. Never mind, there's nothing in the Constitution that authorizes that. Look it up if you don't believe me. If you're a Republican cheering for this, we don't need due process. We don't need trials. We don't need proof. Now we can whisk people off to literal slave camps in other countries without trial, without proof. Would you have been in favor of that if it was the left doing it? No. But now a lot of these people, they're not just making excuses for it. They're not just putting up with it because they think the other side is worse. The ones that are still left at this point, they literally changed colors. They pulled a chameleon and went full-fledged fascist, spineless coward because it mattered more to them to feel like they had a team of fellow spineless cowards. That mattered more to them than what they said they believed in before. And the same damn thing is true of the Democrats with COVID. The people who are trying to shame and guilt and attack anybody who wouldn't take the stupid injection and wouldn't wear a mask and wouldn't hide in their house while the economy falls apart. And enjoyed hating those people? Really? Did you research the statistics about The injections? No, there weren't any. It hadn't been around long enough for there to be tests. Did you actually look up to see whether the mask did any good? No, because you didn't care about that. You cared about feeling like you're on the right side. And if the spokespeople of my side and my team and my party say that good people wear masks, then good people wear masks. Never mind how many videos came out of those same spokespeople caught on camera not wearing masks out in public, going against all their own rules. Why? Because they knew the rules were bullshit. They knew it wasn't endangering anybody. They knew the stupid masks weren't helping. You think they were going out in public, risking their lives to like hang out at a restaurant, going against their own rules? No, they were lying to you and they knew it. And when those videos came out, what did you do? Did you say, wow, my side's been lying its ass off to me the whole time. That's really bad. I'm going to stand against this. I'm going to condemn this. Did any Democrats do that? Few might have. But mostly you felt so superior being in that team, on that side, in that party, and condemning anybody who wasn't. You had the exact mentality of the cheerleaders for every authoritarian empire in history, just like the Republicans do right now, who haven't yet backed up and gone, wait, no, I'm not a fan of war crimes and murder. I'm not going to cheer for police state thuggery and throwing due process out the window, throwing presumption of innocence out the window, throwing the need for like evidence and proof and trials. We don't need that anymore because now our side is in charge. Well, here's the bad news. Well, part of the bad news is you're a spineless coward with no morals and no values. And you've demonstrated to the world you can't be trusted because you can just be led around by the nose just so you can feel like you fit in. That's the first bad news. Second part of bad news is the people that you're worshiping and cheering for, they view you as livestock. This is not going to end well for you. The things you betrayed, the values you at least said you believed in before and then threw out the window when your team went over there, when the spokespeople for your team said, no, it's cool. When these fascist thugs of ICE do random surprised invasions of places and steal children and kidnap people, not because they were accused of like threatening or harming anybody, but just because you don't have the permission of the ruling class to be here. Now we like that. You don't think that's going to come back to haunt you. So the bad news is you're unprincipled cowards. And the worst news is it's going to kick you in the butt. You have built a monster. You're not in charge. That was never your team. You're just a bunch of ignorant, gullible dupes dragged along by sociopaths. And that's just as true on the left as it is on the right. You're cheerleaders for evil, but guess what? You're not the one who's going to wield that power. You're one of the ones who's going to suffer under other people wielding that power. And then you're going to say, this isn't fair. Yeah, it wasn't fair when you cheered for it against the other people either. But you didn't have the spine, and you didn't have the courage, and you didn't have the integrity to say, here's what I believe. And if other people believe that, I can say they're on my side. And the moment they don't, they're not on my side. That's what principles look like. 0 Trump supporters have it. 0 people who went along with Biden's lunacy had it. But that's what people who actually have principle and courage sound like. Here's what I believe. Now, you might change my mind on something through reasoning or something, but I'm not going to change my mind to fit into a group, to fit into a side, to fit into a team, because that would make me a cowardly sheep, just like most of you. And when the monster that you helped create is stomping on you with surveillance state, digital ID, throwing due process out the window, militarizing the police, throwing posse comitatus out the window, habeas corpus out the window. Or in the other direction for the political left, when government says, oh, for public health, we decide whether you can leave your house, whether you can go to work. Now that it's the other party, you're not going to like it when they do that. In fact, we decide whether to force you to get an injection or lose your job. We decide what you can say, or we're going to silence your websites. Because that's what you did. I had several of my own videos taken down by the leftist influence during the ridiculous COVID circus. And a bunch of you would have cheered for that. So when you get silenced by the other side and you're all indignant, you built the monster. And you both built the monster. Democrats, Republicans, you both built the monster that you get stepped on by over and over again. And you complain about how unjust and unfair it is when the other party does these mean things to you. Shut up. You built it. You cheered for it to be this big authoritarian abomination that has the power to do that to people. You're not objecting to the fact that it's there doing that to people. You just wanted it to do it to other people, not you. Well, guess what? You built the monster. The monster views you as livestock, as disposable nothing, to stomp on, to use up, to control, to enslave, whatever. It doesn't give a crap about you. Because here's the worst part. Your loyalty to these power-happy pieces of shit, whether on the left or the right, it's not shared by the people at the top. They have no loyalty to you. They will stab you in the back. They will rob you. They will imprison you. They will murder you if it serves their agenda, if it gives them more wealth and power. They've already demonstrated that over and over again. So not only have you been spineless and pathetic and unprincipled cowards and sheep, but you're going to get slaughtered by the people you empowered. And some of us have been trying to warn you of that the entire time. Before the COVID circus, before the Mango Mussolini circus. So, will you deserve sympathy when the monster you created is stomping on you and raiding you and robbing you and controlling you and monitoring you, limiting what you can do? Not really. You put it there. You're kind of going to deserve it. So, maybe now, maybe today, right now, is the day for you to look in the stinking mirror and decide, is that what you're going to be? Spineless coward who changes his beliefs, either pretends to change his beliefs or actually changes his beliefs just to fit in with a gang of cheerleaders for psychopaths? Is that really what you want to be? You want next generation to look back on you? Oh, you were one of those people who cheered for this authoritarian bullshit? You psycho coward? Or today, do you have the balls to look in the mirror and decide what you believe and say what you believe, even if your team and your side and your party don't approve? Because if you can't do that right now, you're just a pathetic sheep and a fucking coward.